For the past 6 years, I've been an active early stage investor. I was born in Seoul, South Korea, and I'm fortunate to have immigrated to the United States thanks to my entrepreneur parents, who came to America for education and ended up staying for entrepreneurship. I actually had been slated to go on the plane to Korea for my first trip back to my homeland in a couple of years. And when this meeting got booked, my flight wasn't until midnight. I actually said, there's no way, I don't need to be at the airport until 10 p.m. and I'm not gonna miss this opportunity, and I will be there at 5 p.m. So I got to the meeting, did the meeting, went home, packed my stuff, and got on a plane to go to Korea for 2 weeks. A few days later, I received an email from Troy asking me to come back and grab a coffee. He said, how would you feel if we did this?
We meet thousands of people over the course of our lives, sometimes as many as 80,000. But of those tens of thousands, how many actually change our lives? How many can we look back and say, they're the one who changed everything? Through this series, we're going to talk to female founders, entrepreneurs, and leaders about who it was who changed everything for them. Suzy Ryoo has a uniquely American story. She and her family immigrated to Los Angeles nearly 30 years ago from South Korea. After graduating from USC and working as a financial analyst for a year, Suzy took a job at the advertising giant OMD. 5 years into her time at the agency, Suzy started thinking about her next career step. And it's right about then that she met Troy Carter, a music executive and investor who rose to prominence from managing artists like Eve and Lady Gaga.
I admired him from afar and knew about his work and his just cultural relevance in Los Angeles and in the country and the world. And so when there was an opportunity and he heard about our team, Ignition Factory, I jumped at the opportunity to meet him and just hear his point of view and perspective. And in that meeting, it went really well. He asked us about our taste, our perspective, like how we work with partners, how we advocate on behalf of our clients. I really admired his office and the architecture and the interior design, and it was just really well put together. And I remember asking him, the library, this beautiful room, I remember asking him as walking out of the building saying, could I take a photo of this space? So silly. And he said, oh, for sure, go for it, for sure. So I did. And I think I wondered to myself, maybe this photo will mean something one day. And lo and behold, a few days later, I received an email from Troy asking me to come back and grab a coffee. And at the end of the conversation, he asked, if you don't mind me asking, are you a lifer at OMD? And I had just started to think about what are my next 5 years going to look like. And I responded to him in the most honest way I could. I said, could I join a startup? Could I join a brand? Could I be at a venture capital firm? Do I move to San Francisco? Do I move to New York? Do I move to London to get an international experience? And he said to me, well, that's great. Let's continue the conversation. So I just poured my heart out in terms of what I was thinking about. And he said, that's really good to know. Let's keep chatting.
Suzy eventually joined Troy at Cross Culture Ventures, his investment firm, and Atom Factory, his talent management company. She led venture and innovation initiatives for Troy, and when Spotify tapped him to run its relationships with its artists and record companies in 2016, Troy asked Suzy to keep their ventures running in his absence, and she did. A few years later, Troy left Spotify and returned to his work investing and managing artists. Simultaneously, he and Suzy started thinking about forming an entirely new company, a fresh start. They would call it Q&A, a company that fuses music and technology. But as ventures mature, titles need to be formalized, which meant that Suzy had to ask Troy a somewhat awkward question.
I said, Troy, I want to take myself out of the running for future jobs or opportunities that come my way. And I want to be not available. And with that, I have a little bit of an ask, and it's a conversation, and it is really an ask. How would you feel if I was a co-founder of this company? And that was like the aha moment. And no hesitation. He said, absolutely.
We talk, especially in my world, covering women in business, a lot about the importance of women supporting women, right? Like we're more powerful when we band together. But here is what I really like, which is an example of a male ally, advocate, accomplice, whatever word you want to use. So I'm wondering if you could speak to that a little bit.
So I've observed Troy does very well when there are strong women around him, and he almost like craves that strong feminine energy and doesn't shy away from it whatsoever, wants to empower. And I think that requires from men humility and also empowerment, and not seeing through a gender-based lens, and bringing along women to have opportunities that they might not otherwise have. So I would very much encourage men to be allies and to fight for every opportunity where they can become an ally, because we know that this gender parity gap, whether it's at the executive level, at the board level, or with regards to compensation for teammates, for executives, for board members, we know it's going to take a long time to solve. And we might have made wonderful progress through organizations like All Raise and Time's Up over the past 5 years, but there's a long way to go, and it's going to take every ounce of effort from both men and women and everyone in between.